All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Obol's first ever community call. My name is Brett. I am the head of growth for Obol. And we're excited to give everybody an update today on the state of the project and kind of what's to come. So have a jammed packed agenda today. So we'll get in. I think to kick it off, I want to hand it off to Colin Myers, who's our CEO and founder. And he's going to give everyone just a little bit background about the project before we jump in, since this is our first ever community call.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. Thanks for the support as well. We've been planning this for a while, so excited to finally get it kicked off. So who is Obol Labs? The majority of representatives on the call today, we all work for a company called Obol Labs. We're a research and software development team, and we're focused on building Web3 infrastructure technologies for Ethereum. Today, there are 23 members spread across 14 countries on the core team. In addition to that, we have 15 advisors who we work quite closely with. So in total, there's about 40 of us that have been oscillating around this problem and solution set now for the past 2 years. And what we have been working on is building what's called the Obol Network. So happy to take some time and explain the way that the Obol Network works and what it is. The best way to think of the Obol Network today is that it's a collection of tools that are focused on enabling us to minimize staking. We'll walk through the tools here in a bit, but different than most other networks, the Obol Network is not like this synchronous environment where all these different, validators need to connect and communicate with each other. We've designed the technology in a very different way. These are kind of independent deployments of the software that aren't necessarily connected to each other, but it's more in a network in the sense of it's a community, there's education, there's tooling, there's onboarding, and there's everything that you would need to permissionlessly create a distributed validator. Let's take some time to walk everyone through the pillars. So like inside of the Obol Network as this abstract being that we've been building, what are some of the core pillars of it? The first piece, which is Charon, those of you who have followed us or have tested our software, this is kind of the brains of the operation. This is the middleware client. It's a piece of Go software, and this is kind of the primary piece of technology that we've been building. The second pillar of the Obol Network is the DV Launchpad. This is what we've been using to facilitate our tests with all different types of validators over the past year or so. You can think of this as the user interface to the creation of a distributed validator. It's where you'll go with your friends to meet up and create one together. It's where you'll go by yourself to create a new validator. The third piece of technology and pillar of the network are what we call Obol managers. This is the solidity side of the equation. So, Charon itself is being a middleware client. It doesn't natively have any solidity, but when dealing with validators, especially now validators with withdrawals, it kind of opens up this whole new pillar of the Obol Network for us, which is the introduction of different types of solidity and Obol managers, as we call them, that enables you to do cool and interesting things with your ether that you earn. The last and final piece of the network are Obol testnets. We primarily use the ETH, native testnets. We don't stand up our own or anything, but historically this has been a large part of the project, as this has served as an onboarding mechanism, an education mechanism, and one of the primary ways that we've facilitated the act of teaching people how to build DVs together. And lastly, before I hand it over, just to kind of zoom out a little bit, so what are we doing exactly here? So we'll take a moment to talk about the greater picture of the problem set and what we're solving with Obol. In the core Ethereum scaling roadmap, there are 3 different main areas to scale. The first area that we've spent the most time on is the execution layer. We probably have spent nearly 6 years or so figuring out how to scale execution. What we ended up with as a community getting aligned on is optimistic and ZK rollup technologies. These are kind of the cryptographic primitives that then are now implemented through projects such as Optimism, Arbitrum, and Starkware. This is the most mature piece of scaling in Ethereum. and where we kind of start the narrative. Once you scale the execution layer and you have this roll-up world, there's kind of this data layer need. Data availability sampling is the methodology or primitive, if you will, that is being used by a few different projects to help alleviate these problems. And then thirdly, there is scaling the consensus layer. And this is what we are focused on at Obol. And the community has now gathered around and gotten aligned on DDT as a technology for all of us to use to scale the consensus layer. And what we're most focused on here is that consensus and finality of the blockchain in Ethereum needs to be as credibly neutral as possible. And if we don't scale consensus with certain cryptographic primitives, then things will become centralized, and then finality will be up to a group of small actors. So that is the larger problem, and that's where we fit into the greater scaling roadmap of Ethereum.
Great, thanks, Colin. So for today's call, we're going to go over a number of different items to give everyone an overview of what the project is and where we're going. The alpha launch that we just announced earlier this week, our beta testnet, which has been running for the last couple of months. We'll do a quick review on that, give some product updates, and also the ambassador program in the community. Finally, go over some open positions and ultimately close off with what's next. By the way, there is a Discord channel open in our public Discord for people to ask questions and chat about things around this call. Feel free to find us there, and we'll pick questions at the end to answer given time that we have. So with that, I'll hand it off to Oshin, our CTO and co-founder, for the alpha launch.
Sweet. Thanks, Brett. So yeah, my name is Oshin. I'm CTO and co-founder here at Obol Labs, and today I get to chat about our alpha launch. We, as of this week, have announced that Obol is running in an alpha format on mainnet. We have it capped at a max of 1 validator per entity, and so far we have a number of people running clusters on mainnet. We've been astounded by the amount of kind of feedback and interest it's gathered, and the influx of people ready to run validators. But yeah, we're currently onboarding 25 to start, and then we'll look at where we are from there. Alpha will run for a few months towards beta, which we'll talk about further on. But yeah, that's the main thing really on alpha. The other thing I want to talk about, come out, if you'll open to the next slide, is some of our partners. So some of the teams here, and maybe more not on the screen since we've last announced it, were involved in running these. So really wanted to thank all of the operators that have been taking the time to run kind of really early software and, being on the exploratory edge of running on mainnet. So shout out to the people that are taking a leap of faith on our software. But yeah, that's broadly me and my kind of update around alpha. Next, we'll be talking about beta.
Thanks, Oshin. Hi, everyone. Thomas here, leading operations at Obol. So with the announcement of alpha, that also means that we're sunsetting our beta testnets, at least the public and widespread part of it, which was a fantastic experience, our largest permissionless testnet ever. So I wanted to share with you some of the key stats of how this community event took part. So as I said, we were amazed by the participation, close to 1,400 clusters across all sort of operators, all sort of geographies and sizes. And that's close to 1,400 validators as well. So we tested with 1 validator per cluster. It doesn't have to be that way, by the way. We are also doing some performance testing with up to 1,000 validator per cluster, and we'll be releasing more reports and info on that soon. Overall, that means close to 42,000 Ether deposited on Goerli, and we'll talk about mainnet a bit more later. 200 proposals, almost 6 million attestations. So just amazing. I think for me, the key takeaway is seeing how people make DVT their own, both first by looking at the cluster size. So we saw clusters of 4 to 10 operators, depending on their needs. With a 4 operator cluster, you can have one node that goes down and the cluster is still running perfectly. With a 10 operator cluster, you can have up to 3. So it really depends on your need, and seeing the community embrace that is amazing. And that was the same for the region. So we saw clusters across Europe, Asia, America, and all the other continents as well. Cluster being run on the continent or across continents as well, which just improves decentralization and the resiliency of the network, which is what DVT is about in the end. So what are the key takeaways for us with BIA, or this, again, largest testnet we've run publicly? The first one is DV's time is now. So this is the next step in the merge box of the Ethereum roadmap, as Colin explained earlier, and seeing everyone engage with this technology and make it their own. And now with Chapella, even live, people are exiting their clusters, reconfiguring, adding validators, spinning up a new one. So we're just amazed and glad to be part of this fantastic journey of scaling Ethereum. The second one is that DV should be run by communities. And this was part of the geo and the different clients that people are running and the size of the clusters. Whether you're just a group of friends or you're a big DAO, we can make DVs part of our use stake. And so people making their own and run by communities is the second key learning. And last one, by experimenting with stakers, all the way from people who've never run stake before, all the way to semi-pro stakers, we saw that DVT should be really enabled part of the classic staking infrastructure, right? So that can be staking launchers that already exist. It could be part of the UI of LSPs. And so that's what we'll be focusing on moving forward. And Chris will tell you more about that as well. So with that being said, it's all good that Alpha is launched. It's all good that we had a fantastic BIA testnets, but how do DV's performance compare to traditional validators, we can say? And the reason for that is that it's great if we improve decentralization and the resilience of those validators, but we also want to make sure that we don't compromise on the effectiveness of those validators, as if we do in the end, we are also reducing the security if that were the case. The good news is that we are not at all. If anything, we are actually improving the performance of the validator when you run as part of a DV. So in this slide, we're comparing 3 cohorts. The first one is our alpha partners that are already running on mainnet that we talked about earlier. In the second column, we're comparing our BIA Pro, which were like professional stakers who are running large part of stake. And then our at-home validators, which could be people who've never run stake before, all the way to OG pro solo stakers. And what we're seeing is that the overall top validator effectiveness, which essentially is an overarching metric of how your validator is doing and how much rewards it's accumulating, it's actually very competitive and actually even above the network average for both mainnet and Goerli. On Goerli, that metric is a bit less relevant, but seeing it even go into the top 5 of validators on mainnet was just fantastic. How can we explain this validator effectiveness? Well, there's 3 things that come into that metric. The first one is uptime. Obviously, with DVT, with one node that can go down and the cluster is still up, the validator is still doing its duties, our uptime is then much higher than if you had to maybe slow down your nodes for an upgrade, for example. It's all great to have uptime, but then you also need to make sure that the consensus of the cluster is not affecting how well you're performing your duties. And that's the second metric, which is the correctness. And again, we're seeing very competitive metric in terms of how correct these duties are executed on. And finally, it's good to be up. It's good to do your things properly, but you also need to do your things fast. And that's inclusion delay. And here we are seeing 1.02 block inclusion delay on mainnet, which is just fantastic, meaning that in most cases, we are actually included in the next block, which is absolutely fantastic to see that we can propagate super fast through the network. So overall, DVs are competitive. They are performance. We're not compromising on anything. So this is just amazing results and very promising for us to go into future developments of DVT. And with that, I will now leave it to Chris for product updates.
Awesome. Thanks, Thomas. So I'll take over the screen share. Thank you. All right. Yeah, so I'm Chris, head of product. So I thought we'd start off by going through what we shipped late last year, as well as throughout the last quarter. And so this is our distributed validator launchpad, or DV launchpad. And this is what our testnet participants have experienced and is live today on grelly.launchpad.obol.tech. You could also go to it via obol.tech and then find the button for the DV Launchpad there. So yeah, we have two main flows to creating a DV. You can create a distributed validator alone, and this would create all the key shares for your cluster. And then you can take those key shares and put them into whatever environment that you would like, whether that be in the cloud or bare metal or at home, or any combination of those. And then get up and running with a DV on testnet. And then, so our other main flow for, and what our BIA participants went through is for multi-orgs or communities where each node is ran by a different participant. So we'll go ahead and click on that. You'll be brought to a welcome screen where you can get an understanding of what is expected, as well as how long it will take. And there's also a quick start guide link that takes us out to our docs, where we have a few quick start guides. This one is for creating a cluster. We also have one for if you're an operator within the cluster. We have walkthrough videos here that will walk you through the entire process. And so, yeah, once you continue on and get through a set of advisories, you'll be brought to our configure cluster page. So you set your cluster name. I've pre-filled this out for ease here, but you have your cluster name that you'd set, your cluster size. So this is the amount of operators within the cluster. You set all of the addresses who will be participating in the cluster, and the amount of validators you'd like to run. And then you need to input in your ENR. And your ENR is your Ethereum node record. If you click out that link there, it'll explain to you what that is. This brings you back to that quick start guide. It's a Ethereum node record is the way that the other nodes within your cluster will recognize you. So yeah, to generate one of those, you clone the repo down and simply run a Docker command to generate your ENR, bring that back over into Launchpad, and then you'll set your withdrawal addresses. So where you would want to receive your principal and your fees. So this could be a smart contract that you have, or a Gnosis safe, or just a single address. And then once you do that, you continue on to review, and you would confirm and sign. So this pops up a few messages within MetaMask to configure your cluster. And then you'll be brought to your success screen showing that we've created a cluster, and you have a group invite link that you send to the other operators, where they would input in their ENR and confirm and sign. So that's our current experience that we have in the DV Launchpad today to get it up and running with a distributed validator. And I will go back to talk about some of our new features that we have that we just released. So we have a brand new page. So as we just walked through, we had like a singular flow to get you up and running with a distributed validator. And now we've just launched our operator overview page, which includes a cluster list. So you can connect your wallet. You'll see a dashboards link at the top here, and you'll be brought to this page. This will show you all of your clusters and your validators that you're running, and you'll see a set of invites that you have as well to join clusters, and then a cluster list as well, showing all the clusters that you have active today. So they've already gone through that DKG process. So if you click into one of those links, you'll be brought to our brand new cluster details page. And so this will show you the details of your cluster, including your operators, validators, and the operator addresses. And we have a secondary table in there that showcases all of your validators for this cluster. This is an early version that's already out there today. So you can hit that, finding it via the cluster list page. And eventually we'll be rolling out more columns here to showcase the status of these validators as well as the performance. Yeah, just want to quickly highlight, we also have Ansible playbooks and Helm charts live, so you can integrate those into your own architecture. And we have a fresh Grafana dashboard as well. This is a much cleaner version than what we previously shipped, but it still has all of the same information that we had before. So just below the fold here and this accordion down below. So if you wanted to still find out the latency of nodes within your cluster, you can go down to that very last section of P2P networking, open that up, and still find that there. And then lastly, I just want to talk about that we are currently working on an Obol API. So the ability to create a cluster via our API. We're going to be dogfooding this first, and it's supporting the distributed validator launchpad. You can find some of our early documentation at docs.obol.tech/API. And yeah, if you're interested in integrating, please reach out. We're working on requirements for the future version of this today. Yeah, with that, I'll kick it off to Brett to talk about the ambassador program.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. So many of you who have been on our Discord have heard about this ambassador program already. It's a program that we launched earlier this year to try to engage, develop, and grow meaningful contributions from the community. And for those contributions, what we wanted to do is to provide better education for the community around DBT, to provide help on research and development and testing for the software, such as the via Testnet, and then ultimately to grow adoption of DBT through the network. So there's 3 types of ambassadors: technical ambassadors, content engagement ambassadors, and localization ambassadors. We have a very global community, as many of you who are listening to this stream are aware. And so a lot of different languages are necessary to try to translate all these content to. And so the community has contributed greatly to doing that. Ultimately, there's 2 levels of ambassadorships that people can achieve: junior ambassadorship and senior ambassadorship, which will have different types of perks, special access to events and to the team, etc. And we're going to be building more and more incentives into the ambassador program to allow people to contribute and get some feedback for their contributions. And finally, these ambassadorships is earned by completing predetermined activities, which we've published on a Notion page, which you'll be able to find in Discord as well. And you earn what are called Obol Network credentials. And these are essentially badges that allow you to earn based on your activities and collect to be able to earn ambassadorships. 5 Obol Network credentials will earn you that first level of junior ambassadors. Next slide. So I wanted to share some of the metrics of the program to date. This was launched again earlier this year in February. So far, mostly because of the via Testnet, and you saw some of the high numbers of participation there, we've awarded over 10,000 credentials so far. But so far, only 9 junior ambassadors. So I think we'll see this number grow pretty quickly and pretty soon as people earn their 5 network credentials. And excited to engage with the community more, to talk with the junior ambassadors, the first set of junior ambassadors, to give feedback to the program to help us improve it. And we want to work with the entire community to find more valuable opportunities for people to engage, to learn about DBT, to create content about DBT, and to be able to spread the awareness of DBT as well. So much more to come. There will be a lot more initiatives, a lot more activities that will be injected into the ambassador program, and this is something that will continue to grow as time goes on. So the final thing is I wanted just to showcase the platform that we're using to manage this program. It's a platform called Galaxy. There again is a link in the Discord to be able to access this, but this is one page where you can basically go to see all the different types of network credentials that are available, be able to claim them and then collect them. And over time, again, once you have 5, you'll automatically be granted the junior ambassador status in our Discord as well. Cool, and with that, we also are hiring on the core team. So I'll hand it off to Nani to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Brett. Okay, hello, I'm Nani. I'm the head of people at Obol. I'm very happy to be in this, our first community call. So as Brett mentioned before, we are growing. Today we are 23 members in around 14 countries, and we are gonna keep on growing around the world. So we are looking for talented profiles that wanna join our team. I will be posting our open positions also in our Obol opportunities channel in the public Discord channel. You can also check our open positions in our website, or of course you can email me. You can ping me on the Discord on our public Discord. And if you don't find the position that you are looking for, we also have an open position where you can send your resume there. And yeah, it will be very nice to meet you all. So yeah, here I am, and nice to meet you all.
Cool. So I wanted to close off this call a little bit about kind of what's coming up and what's next, what's exciting about the project as we go. So the first thing I wanted to chat about is we are going to be pretty active in different conferences around the world for the rest of the year. We're going to be at InfraCon in Vienna in July, UCC in Stanford, Science of Blockchain Conference in Palo Alto in the US in August, Korea Blockchain Week in September, and then Staking Summit in Istanbul. I think some of you may have saw the news about DevConnect being announced in Istanbul, so we will likely be there as well. So yeah, really excited to be out and about across the globe, meeting different parts of the community. And if you are going to be at one of these conferences, we would love to meet you there as well. So just reach out to us in the various channels that we have available, and we would love to meet parts of our community. And oh, by the way, we will have some cool swag at each of these things, so make sure to find us. With that, I'll let Oshin close it off.
Yeah, so next things on the technical roadmap, we're focusing on our beta in particular. So there'll be a lot more features rolled out, smart contracts for the first time, lots of integrations with LSPs, launchers, node operators, you name it to some extent. So the core team are going to be super busy in the coming months on all of that. As part of our testing and hardening, we'll be doing an attack net, where we'll have bug bounties roll out, and we'll be trying to kind of get more eyeballs on our smart contracts and more abuse of the software to continue to kind of harden it and gain trust in it as we kind of roll up and grow the amount of distributed validators on mainnet. And yeah, the next update you'll hear from us by the sounds of things will be in July, August sometime. Would that be right, Brett?
No, that's correct. Yeah, we'll probably do these once every 3 months, about once a quarter. And so in the meantime, we'll have more regular updates like weekly on our Discord, so you can stay up to date with the project there as well.
Fantastic.
Cool. So with that, we're ready to take some questions. I will try to find some questions that we can answer through our Discord, and also I'm actually going to look at the YouTube chat as well real quick. Maybe actually we can start off. This would be an interesting question, Colin, for you and Oshin for you, or what are some of the challenges you think the team is facing when developing Obol? Like, what are the things that maybe the community can help with to continue to grow the project?
Yeah, I would say one of the big focuses that we have right now is like completing like the duties amongst all the clients. And honestly, that takes a lot of human effort at the end of the day. So getting all of them done in full completeness has been a challenge for us. It's kind of like cat herding to some degree, plus pretty heavy technical integration. So that's a big thing. If you're watching the call today and you're on a client team and we're missing some duties, this is your warning. We'll be coming after you guys to help get these things complete and across the finish line. But I would say that's probably one of the bigger things, because one of the benefits of Obol and just DVT in general is it's very complementary, to what people have today, and like complementary to all the other types of softwares you can use. So really, as we get to beta, Obol's really only as strong as what it's compatible with, and making sure it's compatible with everything, not only like the core ETH1 and 2 clients, but now we're beginning to get more into how it can be integrated more compatibly with all the different types of MEV softwares. And that's really a big focus of ours.
Cool. One thing I would add as well, from just an opportunity for the community to help, going back to just kind of spreading the awareness of DVT. I think it's an important tech, regardless of whether you're a validator or not. Like, I think everybody who is staking should be aware of the technology to help protect their stake and make it more resilient. And so I think spreading that awareness is something that I'm interested in as well, and looking for the community to help us build content, promote on social and things like that, just to get the idea and the core technology out there. Cool. Next question. Where do you see the project in 1 year or in 5 years? I guess Colin and Oshin, you guys are probably best suited to answer that question as well.
Yeah. So in 1 year from now, That's what we're determining at the moment. We're actually about to go to our first offsite as a core team together in the coming weeks. We'll all go to South Africa together and spend a week and begin to really work on what are our 12-month kind of goals and what are OKRs. Everyone kind of wants these things to turn into TVL and different types of measurements like this. We're actually trying to create more like diversity metrics or penetration metrics as a way to kind of have North Stars. So as we look at like adoption, we assume that a large majority of the network in the next year will adopt DVT. And now we're trying our best we can to like make sure that adoption is in line with like the community's expectations. So over the next year, we're all ears around how this wants to be rolled out and how much it grows. We're here to be helpful. And then I think after this next year, honestly, it'll kind of deem where we go in the next 5 years. But we're a bit biased, but we think the end game of the validator configuration is the research, study, and effort of DVT. So within 5 years, we hope to have nearly all of the network using DVT in some implementation or some shape or form. And as an Obol project, we hope to have multiple different dev teams, multiple different implementations, and potentially multiple different use cases, which is one of the areas that we've been exploring recently is, where else can we help in the stack? What we've built is really just trust minimized signing to some degree. So what other infrastructure actors, could use the help of our software? We've ended up in the sequencer realm. We've ended up in the block builder realm. So we're also looking at these other infrastructure actors as a means of, beyond the next 12 months, where do we go? But right now we're focused on Ethereum validators and making sure we de-risk the network by getting DVT out there in a safe way.
Cool.
Comprehensive. I'm not anything.
Well, maybe I'll turn this next question actually over to you, Oshi. And there's a number of different questions in the chat, which I'll just summarize, which is kind of our approach to DVT or Obol's approach to DVT. What makes it unique and what makes it kind of better, in the market. So maybe Ocean, you can answer that question from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, the first thing that would come to mind is Obol is intentionally designed as a middleware to be kept away from private keys and the ability to do arbitrary key signing. This is something super important because when it comes to building the software and like one piece of software sitting in every stack, if effectively there is a virus or if you do have a vulnerable attacker and dependency and your code becomes malicious, if it has access to the private key, it can kind of do what it wants. The worst case scenario, everything gets slashed. But if it's instead sitting as kind of a read-only middleware, worst thing it can do is probably knock you offline. And even that can be mitigated if you have multiple versions, multiple implementations, and so on. So yeah, if you were looking for the kind of key difference, it'd be the trust assumptions of Obol are very low. We don't, we facilitate a key generation event, but there's not, an encrypted private key being decrypted somewhere. It doesn't have access to arbitrary signing, anything like that. So if you're security conscious and looking at DVT from that perspective, you want to be saying, what happens if this goes bad? And that's where I think Obol and Karen particularly come out on top.
Yeah, one other thing I would just add is, as a project, we want to be very collaborative with the rest of the players in the ecosystem and complementary to all the other players, and help to add value instead of trying to compete in any given part of the stack. And so I think that's another important thing for the community to think about is working with Obol in various aspects to be able to increase the centralization and resiliency of the network overall is first and foremost on our mind. So it's something that's important to us, and that's why we've architected the software in a middleware fashion. Cool. I actually don't see any other questions. Well, I guess maybe any thing to highlight, Oshin, on kind of the timing of Cersei or the next testnet. I think there's some questions about that. And maybe I don't know if there's any more details you can give on Cersei at this point, from like how it's organized, how it's going to be structured.
Mm. It's always a question I try and avoid. It No major promises and timelines. I would say that the smart contracts that are already out on our launch pad and stuff, so you can kind of feel free to give them a test. As for announcing kind of a bug bounty or a penetration test or kind of a public kind of audit process, no, I don't want to make any commitment other than it's probably not going to be before June. But yeah, probably sometime in summer will be when I'd be expecting it. But yeah,
Cool.
I try not to like pin myself to dates when I can avoid it because yeah, a lot of it doesn't go as fast as every dev thinks it can.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think just for everyone to know, probably be in 2 to 3 months, maybe a little longer, but it'll be somewhere in the summertime, just to set you guys from a high level time box. All right, I think that is all the questions that I see. Again, appreciate everybody jumping on for this first community call, listening to the stream, listening to the recording. If anybody has suggestions, by the way, about how we can improve this community call to get better information to you guys in the future, let us know. And we look forward to the next one. Thank you all for the time, and cheers.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.